Welcome to the Four Bells, and here we are doing workout from home number 108. Today we've got ourselves a glorious upper body day where we are doing a big focus on ideally vertical supinated pulling in the form of chin-ups, and then working on some unilateral imbalances in the form of some seesaw Z pressing. To get ourselves ready for our strength piece today, we're going to do three things for 3 rounds. Our first exercise is taken from the 5 rights of Tibetan yoga. It is the pump, essentially a down dog position to an up dog position. We're going to look at shoulder flexibility, flexibility through the posterior chain, spinal mobility, a whole bunch of fun stuff for 10 reps. From there, using a PVC pipe or a broomstick today, it'll make sense in a second, we're going to do 10 shoulder dislocates. And then from there, a movement that we see rarely in the gym in warm-ups and in strength pieces, but a great alternative if maybe you don't have a chin-up bar at home, is the pseudo pull-up. We're going to do 10 reps of those. We're going to do these 3 things 3 times in the warm-up today. Let's take a look at them. Each exercise in the warm-up is done for 10 repetitions today. So we start off with the pump, which is one of our movements from the 4 out of 5 rights of Tibetan yoga. It covers a lot of stuff. It covers looking at shoulder flexion, overhead, with the spinal mobility. We can even get into flexibility through the posterior chain, the glutes and hamstrings and calves. So we're going to start with our hands directly below the shoulders. From here I'm going to dig the toes into the floor and I come up into that downward facing dog position. So I'm trying to bring the forehead to the toes, and then from there hips down to the floor, hips to the ceiling, hips to the floor, and then back up. That's 1 rep, and we are going to do 10 reps there. From there into a shoulder dislocate. The reason why we're going to use a PVC pipe today is it transitions nicely into the pseudo pull-up. So I'm going to have my hands at the end of my PVC pipe, and it should be nice and easy at first. As we know, the PVC pipe not as nice as a band. The band is a bit more forgiving on the shoulders, so make sure if we are going to move the hands in as the reps and sets go on, be nice to yourself. Last but not least, laying down on the floor in a prone position. I'm going to set my hands up as if I was going to do a pull-up. I'm going to arch up. From here, I'm trying to squeeze every muscle in the upper back as I do a behind the neck pull-up. It's very easy if you're just kind of flopping around. This can be a very nothingy movement. We have to try and squeeze all the muscles as hard as possible on the way in and squeeze them as hard as possible on the way out. It should be very challenging when doing our pseudo pull-up. We're trying to contract all the muscles of the upper back as much as we can. The strength piece is 5 sets. Each set is 3 minutes long, split into 2 90-second windows of time. So in 90 seconds, number 1 today, we have to make a choice depending on what we have available to us. So in an ideal world, we have a chin-up bar, and we're going to work on our supinated vertical pulling today, which means that depending on where we are with our chin-up journey, we can do somewhere from 5 to 10 reps of a chin-up. If you don't have chin-ups, we can do some negatives today instead, so that eccentric part of the chin-up, we can do 3 to 5 reps, volume's a bit lower, as usually they are a bit harder. And of course, if you are somewhere between chin-ups and negatives, maybe you've got a chin-up or 2 in the bank, but you don't have 5, then you can mix and match chin-ups and negatives to make up the numbers in your sets today. So of course, if you don't have a chin-up bar available, we're going to do some kind of row for 10 reps today. So that could be on rings or a TRX, or bent over with a barbell or dumbbells, but we're still going to have that supinated palms facing me or palms up grip today. That's going to be our first 90 seconds. From there, in a Z position, a Z press position, we're going to be seated on the floor with the legs straddled. We are going to do some seesaw pressing today with either dumbbells or kettlebells or whatever you happen to have. We are going to do 8 reps per arm, 16 total reps, and if we can, trying to get a little bit heavier as these 5 sets go on. So let's take a look at our options in today's strength piece. When it comes to chin-ups, that means supination, palms facing me when I'm doing my vertical pulls today, which means a little bit more focus on the bicep than the lats. Doesn't mean both aren't getting used, but you're just going to find there's going to be slight more favouring for the arm. So of course, when we're doing a chin-up, if we can, we're starting from a nice dead hang, hands just outside the shoulder width, and we're bringing the chin fully over the bar. If chin-ups are not available for you, another option of course is negatives. You can be on a lower bar if you have it available, most people won't, or you could use a box and jump up there. Either way, jumping up, holding for a full second, and then somewhere around 3 to 5 seconds down to the straight arm. Of course, if a chin-up bar is not available, you can do some kind of supinated row. So that could be with a barbell, dumbbells. Either way, I'm going to hinge forwards, and I'm going to do 10 supinated rows. That is our plan for upper body pulling today. It's either 5 to 10 chin-ups, 3 to 5 negatives, 10 rows, or you can mix and match throughout all 3 of those exercises. With the Z press, before we get into the seesaw part, basically means we're going to sit in a straddle position on the floor, which means the lower body can't really help us at all. But for a lot of people, that's very uncomfortable. Get cramp in the hips, cramp in the hamstrings. So if you need to bend the legs slightly, bring the feet in a little bit, that's fine. We're just making sure that we're not using the legs. So from here, starting with my seesaw press, I start with one arm overhead. So just like on a seesaw, one arm should pass the other by like strangers passing in the night. We don't want them to pause, or we don't want one to come down and then one to go up. They should be passing each other by, trying to get a co-contraction movement through the scapula as we are doing 16, 8 per side of a seesaw Z press. The conditioning piece has 3 4-minute AMRAPs today with a 90-second break in between. So that's 3 4-minute blocks of work, 90 seconds rest in between them. For each of our 4-minute AMRAPs, those blocks of time, we have a couplet, which means we're going to do some kind of body weight pressing movement coupled with some kind of movement that maybe involves dumbbells or maybe it's abs. So we're doing a couplet back and forth. So our first 4 minutes is going to be dips of some kind. Most people doing our workouts at home are doing dips on a bench or a box. We're going to do 10 reps. Of course, if you have dip bars, do 10 reps on to dip bars. Woo. From there, we're going to do plank rows for 10 reps per arm. So it's bench dips, plank rows, back and forth for our first 4 minutes. We then rest 90 seconds. Our second 4 minutes is push-ups for 10 reps, and then standing up with a pair of dumbbells, we're going to do 10, easy for me to say, 10 push presses. So push-ups, push presses, back and forth for 4 minutes, 90 seconds rest, and then our last 4-minute block today, we're going to do some plank ups for 10 reps, and then weighted sit-ups for 10 reps, back and forth, back and forth. That's how it should go. Let's take a look at all these exercises. First AMRAP, first couplet, we're going to do bench dips. Of course, if you have dip bars available and you can do body weight dips, do them. And of course, mix and match between those and bench dips if you need to. I would say if you find bench dips on the floor very, very easy, with the feet on the floor, see if you can elevate the feet too. But either way, we're going to start by getting those, making sure that we're not shrugging the shoulders. We've got the shoulders away from the ear. Ideally, shoulder is below the elbow as we are doing our 10 bench dips. I then come up, over to my dumbbells. I get into my plank position, so feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. And I'm going to do 10 per side of a plank row, trying to minimize rotation and flaring about and doing weird stuff with the dumbbells. Keep it nice and tight as we do 10 bench dips, 10 and 10, 20 plank rows. Second AMRAP, we have a couplet of push-ups with push press. You could argue the most shoulder heavy of our 3 AMRAPs today. So that means having the hands shoulder width, we're going to corkscrew into the floor. And whether I'm on the floor, a bench, a box, a chair, on my knees, on my toes, we're trying to keep that nice tight elbow position as we perform our 10 push-ups. Once my 10 push-ups are done, I grab my dumbbells, I stand up, and we're going to use that leg drive. Dip, drive, controlling back down to the shoulder as we perform 10 push presses. So last of our 4-minute AMRAPs is going to be plank ups for 10 reps and weighted sit-ups for 10 reps. So of course with the plank ups, we're going to be in our plank position, hands directly below the shoulders, feet a little bit wider just like in our plank row, and it should be elbow, elbow, hand, hand, switching the direction each time it's done. Elbow, elbow, hand, hand. Once I've done 10 of that, we are then going to get into 10 sit-ups. So with our 10 sit-ups, of course, before we even think about weighted sit-ups, is can we do just regular sit-ups? So I'm going to start with my legs bent, toes pulled up towards my face, vampire style. I'm going to do 10 sit-ups. And of course, if that is very manageable for me, I can grab one of my dumbbells that I used in the earlier AMRAPs, and I can do some weighted sit-ups where I'm reaching for the ceiling. So that's what we're doing in our conditioning piece. We are doing 3 4-minute AMRAPs. Our first one is going to be bench dips and plank rows. From there, our next one is going to be push-ups and push press, and then our last one is plank ups and weighted sit-ups. We've got those 3 4-minute pieces to do today, 10 reps of the everything. Enjoy yourselves, have fun with Workout from Home 108, and let us know how you get on.